Life is nothing but a fight, not a motivational struggle, not a heroic challenge designed to inflate self-worth, but a continuous internal war that begins before consciousness and ends only with death. Albert Caraco understood this not as metaphor, but as structure. In Les Livres des Combats de l'âme, written when he was barely 30 years old, he did not attempt to beautify existence or offer reconciliation with the world. He diagnosed life as conflict itself. The soul, for Caraco, is not a refuge. It is an arena where forces collide endlessly, without resolution and without mercy. From the first pages, Caraco dismantles the illusion that harmony is natural or attainable. Human beings are born divided, not corrupted later. Desire moves upward, toward meaning, permanence, and clarity, while fear pulls downward, toward safety, repetition, and submission. This tension is not an accident of history or trauma. It is the foundation of consciousness. To be aware is to be fractured. Anyone seeking unity without rupture is not searching for truth, but anesthesia. Caraco's early tone may appear softer than his later nihilistic works, but this softness is deceptive. It is the quiet before the verdict. Beneath the poetic language lies a merciless diagnosis. Existence does not want you fulfilled, healed, or at peace. It wants you functional enough to continue. Meaning is not provided. It must be wrestled from resistance, and even then it remains unstable. The individual who refuses this confrontation does not preserve innocence. They fossilize. The soul, Caraco writes, is the theater of conflict between light and darkness. But light here is not goodness, nor is darkness evil. Light represents awareness, the unbearable clarity that exposes contradiction. Darkness represents comfort, the instinct to hide, simplify, and obey. Most people mistake darkness for peace. They retreat into it and call their retreat balance. Faith enters Caraco's analysis not as salvation, but as symptom. Faith exists because reality is intolerable when fully seen. It functions as a psychological brace for minds unable to withstand the weight of existence without external justification. Faith soothes, explains, and absolves. But in doing so, it replaces confrontation with surrender. It offers meaning without cost, answers without struggle, and identity without introspection. Caraco does not merely attack belief. He exposes its mechanism. Faith becomes dangerous not when it lies, but when it prevents thought. Blind belief is not ignorance, it is refusal. It is the decision to stop fighting internally and submit to pre-packaged meaning. In this sense, faith transforms fear into obedience and obedience into virtue. The soul ceases to battle and begins to kneel. This internal war cannot be escaped. It cannot be resolved. There is no final synthesis where contradictions disappear. The fight is not a phase of life. It is life itself. He who does not fight is already lost. This statement is not encouragement. It is a sentence. Those who avoid inner conflict do not transcend suffering. They become hollow. They survive biologically while dying existentially. Caraco rejects the modern obsession with peace. Peace, in his worldview, is either temporary exhaustion or ideological sedation. True lucidity is restless. It cannot settle without lying. To live authentically is not to calm the storm, but to remain conscious inside it without fleeing into illusion. Anyone promising serenity without pain is selling submission. The individual who accepts this reality becomes incompatible with the world. They cannot be reassured, motivated, or integrated. Their awareness becomes corrosive. They see too much, and what they see cannot be unseen. The external world, Caraco insists, is not independent of the inner one. Society is not a neutral structure imposed upon individuals. It is the collective outcome of unresolved internal conflicts. What humanity refuses to confront internally takes form externally as institutions, traditions, and moral systems designed to distract, regulate, and Nestheiz. The world feels false because it is false. It is constructed by individuals who abandon inner struggle and replaced authenticity with performance. Language becomes ritual. Values become costumes. Morality becomes theater. Society functions as a massive apparatus for avoiding solitude, silence, and self-examination. Caraco's insight is brutal. Civilization is not built by strength, but by evasion. Laws, customs, and ideologies exist primarily to reduce existential tension, not to reveal truth. They promise order at the cost of awareness. They reward conformity and punish introspection. The more complex society becomes, the more efficiently it suppresses internal conflict. Loneliness, therefore, is treated as pathology. Loneliness is the laboratory of the soul, Caraco writes, knowing precisely how dangerous this statement is. In solitude, there is no audience, no approval, no distraction. The individual is forced into confrontation with their own insufficiency. This is why solitude terrifies modern humanity. Not because it is empty, but because it is honest that the modern world organizes itself against silence. Constant noise, constant interaction, constant opinion. Anything to prevent the individual from hearing the internal accusation that something is wrong. Social systems thrive on this noise. They require individuals to remain reactive rather than reflective. Solitude dismantles these defenses. In isolation, the masks dissolve. The roles collapse. The narratives lose credibility. What remains is the naked self-fragmented, afraid, and without justification. Most people cannot endure this state. They rush back into society and call their flight connection. Caraco does not romanticize solitude. It is not peaceful. It is violent. It strips away identity and exposes existential nakedness. But only here does thought become autonomous. Only here can the individual observe rather than perform. Solitude is not escape from reality. It is escape from illusion. Freedom, in this context, becomes unbearable. True freedom offers no protection, no validation, and no external enemy to blame. To be free is to accept full responsibility for one's own emptiness. Most people do not want freedom. They want structure. They want permission. They want someone else to tell them who they are, so they don't have to find out. Society provides this service efficiently. It assigns identities, beliefs, and aspirations. It absorbs anxiety and redistributes it as routine. It teaches individuals how to live without ever confronting why they live. In exchange, it demands obedience. The individual who refuses this exchange becomes incompatible. They cannot be categorized, reassured, or normalized. They threaten the system not through rebellion, but through clarity. Caraco offers no salvation, no resolution, no final harmony. His conclusion is not comforting. It is clarifying. Inner peace, he writes, is not the absence of conflict, but the capacity to endure it without illusion. This is not serenity as calmness, but serenity as endurance. The ability to remain conscious while suffering, without inventing lies to justify it. Wisdom, in Caraco's universe, does not eliminate wounds. It understands them. It does not promise happiness. It removes excuses. Every battle leaves a mark. These marks are not symbols of growth in the motivational sense. They are evidence proof that one has not fled. Most lives leave no trace because they never risk exposure. They move through existence insulated by routine, belief, and distraction. They call this survival life. Caraco calls it something else, prolonged evasion. This is why most people never truly live. They function, reproduce, consume, and repeat, but they never enter the internal war. They outsource meaning to systems designed to function without truth. They mistake comfort for authenticity and obedience for morality. There is no redemption here. No cosmic reward for endurance. No hidden harmony awaiting those who suffer honestly. There is only clarity. And clarity is incompatible with happiness. To exist authentically is to accept that life is a continuous wound that never closes. Those who endure it without lies become intolerable to the world. They cannot be integrated, reassured, or pacified. They stand as living indictments of collective cowardice. Caraco does not invite the reader to follow him. He does not persuade. He exposes. If you recognize yourself in this struggle, it is not because you are enlightened or chosen. It is because you have not fully surrendered yet. And in a world built on surrender, that alone is enough to isolate you forever.